particularly with you and I being on the show, all bets are off. Even when we both want to end early, we
or
fucking
need to
don't.
end early. I still remember the first show you and I ever did together was like an NBA strategy show, and we spent 40 minutes on Carmelo Anthony shot selection.
MLB strategy show. It wasn't an NBA show. It was a baseball show.
You're right, because it was August.
Yeah.
God, people must have hated
We didn't even know each other then, really.
It was, I think, like the first time we had it like in person, conversation.
Then we talk about baseball for well over a half hour. That was back in the day when we would do like a 2-hour NBA strategy show.
Yeah. Yeah, with like 50 minutes NBA.
At best.
We've trimmed it down a lot.
We had to, man.
Yeah.
To be fair, we probably ran out of shit to say to each other 5 days a week, 2 hours a shot.
Can be a problem. Also, we've been talking baseball late March. I think like March 28th was opening day.
Sounds
so
right.
All of April, May, June, July, most of August. We're going on a 5 full months within the next week. That's a lot of baseball.
It's a lot of baseball.
Hence me talking about Turkmenistan yesterday.
I booked my flights. I'm on my way.
You'll be the only traveler they've had in probably 3 years.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, though. That's the problem.
I can't imagine it's good.
Maybe they treat me like royalty.
I'm not sure it works that way.
What do you know, though?
I don't know. I did a deep dive. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB live before lock. 4-game action today. Got a good size main slate, too. So we'll have live before lock for that as well. But figure we get you in position for today. Before we do, though, for a 4-game slate, Robbie Ray yesterday, because I looked at Logan Webb, same matchup. Now it's a 4-game slate as opposed to a, what did we have yesterday? 13 games?
Yeah.
Now you got him on a 4-game slate at 8,500 somehow.
So super wrong.
Inexplicably cheaper than Robbie Ray on a 4-gamer. Robbie Ray just dominated last night.
He did. Glad I had 80. He was in 8 of my 9 entries into the big one. But it doesn't matter what I did there. Although Steve had a good showing. I think he finished second there. Sean Jeezy, you in chat?
Oh, yeah. The 50.
50K.
The 50 banger. Yeah, man. Sean Geezy getting it done, baby. Getting it done. We weren't wrong about Walker Buehler. I'll tell you that much.
I bet the under. Felt good.
Got through 4 innings, 1K. Just another absolutely dismal start. So us digging deep, I know sometimes people probably find it superfluous, but sometimes digging deep into those guys like Boyle or Walker Buehler really pays off, like kind of instant dividends,
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Ended up plus a half unit on the sports betting side yesterday, so I'll take it. Got that Aaron Judge homer. Tough one.
A win is a win, yeah. Joey Estes dominated.
Yeah, I didn't need that because I had the Rays in like 2 or 3 of those lineups, and I woke up and saw that it was 1-0 or whatever, and I was like, oh, they're not the stack. You know who was the stack, though? Then Blue Jays hit a bunch of home runs yesterday, baby. We were all over that shit.
Who?
Blue Jays. Home run after home run yesterday.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what, 10-3? That was a good one. So,
I didn't have them, so every time those home runs popped up, I was pissed.
Shane Baz and Estes dealt in that one. I mean, they were really good. But yeah, Estes, just a great value play. Let's see if we can do more of that today. Happy to have you guys with us. If you don't mind, greatly appreciate it if you atone for your sins this fine Wednesday afternoon. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Remember, anything that has a shelf life, you want to listen, podcast forum, Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever it may be. I just listened to Donald Trump on with Theo Vaughn, and Theo...
I only saw the clip about him talking about cocaine and turning into an owl on his front porch, and I was just like, oh my God.
He called Trump homie. It's just wild.
I was listening, like I was watching the clip on my phone, and Katie's just like, is that real? And I was like, it really is.
He actually, if you watch the whole hour-long thing, he tamped down on the eccentricism for sure.
Well,
But
he
that,
has to.
yes,
He can't. You can be you a little bit, but like if he's just full bore,
yeah.
it's not gonna work. Trump's
But
gonna be
then you had Trump
lost.
talking about like how his brother and someone else were, he's like, they were incredible alcoholics. And then he's like uncontrollable. And Theo goes, "Oh, I thought you meant they were really good at it." So he had a few in there. He had a few
It's so
zingers.
smart of Trump though to do that kind of like
Oh, well, yeah, you have to. You just have to go on with comedians, influencers, and stuff like that. He's so out of his element. It's hilarious, but uh worth a watch.
I
Anyway,
bet. What do you think he thinks when he's having a conversation with Theo?
dude, all that went through my head when Theo was like, "Yeah, I turned into an owl. I was a lamppost or whatever." And Trump's just like, "Yeah, so it's sort of like it's so bizarre and absurd that you can't even acknowledge it, right? That's kind of you don't ask him, what do you mean by that? Because then you get another insane explanation. You just have to keep going.
Like Theo sounds like every guy Trump's ever seen outside of Trump Tower on the ground. Just like mumbling to himself and shit. Like, did I know
Man,
you? Did I step over you the last time I went into my lobby?
I don't love him. I don't love all of his stuff, but he's like one of the most likable people in the world. And
He is in. If you see a 1 minute clip, it's incredible.
that's exactly what it is. So, but like I watched a whole episode of him having a carny on and then like a trash truck, a trash man. He goes from having a carny and then like a taxidermist to Bernie Sanders and Trump. How do you do?
It's it's so great. Like that's media now.
Yeah, it is. It's clearly the
Theo
new
Von
media.
is getting the former president of the and potential new president of the United States on his podcast. This is the guy that did the fucking road rules.
He had the former and potential, 47th president of the United States directly following, like, as I said, a mortician. Like, it's crazy. All right, let's get into it. 4 games. Pitching. Logan Webb clearly looks good. I mean, hands down, looks fantastic. Insanely low implied total for the White Sox. If you've yet to look at the White Sox implied total, we have it at 3. I'm seeing it at 2.8 in other spots as well. So, yeah, one of the lowest totals you're going to see this season. The White Sox are a dismal baseball team. That out of the gate is going to be the spot that a lot of people are looking at. Then you have Andrew Heaney against the Pittsburgh team. They've been, pretty unimpressive for the most part. I think against lefties, I think you and I talked about this, where they've been, I think, better against lefties, but still bad. Yeah, like
I have no
94
memory of
WR,
anything.
25% K rate, 6% walk rate. Good spot for Heaney. And then Manaea is getting, I know he's cheap, but how about Sean Manaea, the lefty, getting 37% against Baltimore today?
I am about a minute away from having my actual exposures on my first run. But just looking at it, my implied ownership might as well be the ownership. I have like 1 to 2 percentage points on either side for all of these guys. I'm spot on Webb, spot on Verlander, Crochet, Manaea, Irvin, Heaney. Like I'm very curious to see what I'm going to be getting here. I assume I'm just getting all the way to the top and getting a billion% of Logan Webb because he's 8,500. But as I see pitching right now, I think ownership is incredibly efficient.
How about Crochet pulling 21% despite the fact that it's, likely that he throws 60 pitches. Like
I
that,
can't. I don't. It's so weird. But his strikeout prop's like 6.
I know. Well, he had 9 strikeouts in 4 innings against Houston last time. Crochet's a phenomenal pitcher.
His strikeout rate against lefties this year is like 37%.
It's nuts. And I think I mentioned this to you on a show with like maybe a month ago before we were dealing with the pitch limit, but his home and road split strikeout stuff is ridiculous.
It's all pretty ridiculous, which makes me wonder why he's going to throw 3 innings. But I guess, look, honestly, it makes sense. You want to keep him out there and you want to keep him getting MLB reps. There's absolutely no reason to run him out there in the 8th inning when this team sucks as bad as they suck.
Oh, I agree, but here's the problem I have too. Like, all right, you're not banking on a win, obviously, and it's a really tough spot to get a win to begin with against Logan Webb when his team has when the White Sox have a 2.8 total. However, he hasn't thrown 5 innings since June.
Yeah.
So, like, even if you were up, he's probably not getting the win anyway. If you're on
No.
FanDuel, he's certainly not getting the quality start. So just
No.
throw those out the window to begin with. You are entirely dependent on strikeouts for Crochet. And it feels like, given his limitations, the upside here is what you saw last game. It's like 22, 23 DraftKings points. Even that seems high because you have to be pretty perfect to pay off that price point. I'm not saying he's 10K anymore, but you still have to be pretty perfect to pay that off in 4 innings.
You have to be less perfect today because of it only being 4. His saving grace is the slate size.
I don't disagree with that at all. At all.
If it helps, I'm fading him.
What?
I'm fading him. So I don't want to advocate too hard for him. He's in like 6% of my lineups.
Well, even last start, like, okay, purely dominant, right? In a good they won that game against Houston. He gave up 1 run, struck out 9, walked 0, 55 pitches through 4 innings. So just wildly efficient and still didn't come back out. So if you're telling me that this guy's not even coming back out for the 5th after throwing 55 pitches, right? Like, oh, he can go to 70. Nope.
Yeah.
55 pitches and you get the hook.
Right now I have 6% of him. So I hope he sucks. I hope he doesn't get his strikeouts.
I will say the 6 to 10% seems about logical to me.
I was implied at
amazing.
22, same as the ownership. Like, he still projects really well because he just strikes everybody out.
How about this? Chad Rock, Laffy, and Josh, thank you for pitching. Thank you for pitching on Robbie Ray and Assad. Took 3rd in the solo shot with Toronto 5-man and 3-man Yankee stack. Hell yeah, man.
There you go. I mean, we really did walk through that one yesterday.
Yeah. Over the target, one might say.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
That was good stuff. And yeah, shout out again to Sean too. I love seeing that. We've had
that was a fun one to wake up to.
The real heater. We've had crazy heaters over the years, right? Like Sean's had some. Peter, remember Peter Hanley?
Yeah.
Oh, who was
Coach
the guy? Who was the guy that was a math professor? You have to remember this. A few years ago, he was winning like 20.
I mean, I follow him on Twitter.
But you know exactly who I'm talking about.
I do.
That was like the first true avatar, non-Steve Buzzard, heater that I think we've seen. That one was insane.
Yeah, I'm gonna forget, but Chad will tell us in 10 seconds. So.
Chad will tell us. That's why Chat is here to help us out. But who's on the mega heater right now? Tyler Mattis.
Yep.
And different sports. Like he took 50K in
Gene Kim.
What?
Gene Kim.
Gene Kim. Thank you.
That would have pissed me off. Sorry, Gene.
News God got it too. But yeah, 50K and then 25K in baseball, and then just followed it up with like 70K and I don't even know what this was, it NASCAR or something, just using the tools. So really, I'm sure he has a process outside of that. Don't get me wrong, but really awesome stuff. So congrats to you guys. 1-800-Eddie had a phenomenal run, Bill. Yeah. But also, like I said, 1-800-Eddie was one of us. He's the one that helped develop a lot of the tools we had.
One of us.
Him and Alex, Alex, did, the innovation with those tools. But
he went on a run, I guess. The boss man.
But Eddie had a lot to do with the tools as well that we still use.
Hell today. Yeah.
Eddie's the man, by the way. I hung out with him in Chicago and he was
good times, man.
All right. So you're 6%, Chris. How much web do you have?
84.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, I get it.
I need to know how much Mania.
42.
What is it about him? I mean, obviously he's having a really nice season. The strikeout stuff has been there for the most part, but what an unappealing matchup this is.
If it helps, I have 42% of Sean Manaea and 29% of the Baltimore Orioles. So I don't care which way it goes. I just hope it's extreme. Orioles are my most exposed team.
Orioles have been good against lefties, but not dominant like they were earlier in the year. Like they're basically 10 through 12 and everything. If you're
Yeah.
ranking just WOBA,
I mean,
WRC plus.
they're just so hurt.
I
Like
know
they're dropping bodies like constantly.
that's a problem, and that's gonna contribute to this. Like if they were
Yeah.
fully healthy, I can't imagine getting to that much Manaea, even on this slate.
They're gonna be so good for the next couple of years. I hate it. I don't want Adam to have nice things.
Yeah. No, me neither. What about Verlander here?
I mean, I'd like to roster him just because of his wife. But I don't think that's how this one works. I don't get bonus points for that. So I don't have a single share of Justin Verlander. And
None, huh?
no, I don't see it.
I mean, some of the guys that once you get down towards the bottom a little bit are more difficult to get to. Cooper Criswell,
I
Cole
don't have
Irvin.
any Domingo Herman.
Yeah, Domingo Herman. How about him? I mean, this is
No.
also one of those less appealing matchups as well. $7,000. He's made what? I'm looking at this. He's thrown what, 6 innings this season?
Not a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah, 6 innings.
I basically have 3 guys. I have 0 Verlander, 0 Herman, 1 share of Cole Irvin, 2 shares of Cooper Criswell, and 3 shares of Garrett Crochet. 60% Heaney, 40% Manaea, 80% Logan Webb. I have 3 pitchers. They're the only ones that I think are viable.
I wonder how deep Herman goes here.
What did I give him? 4 1/3.
Yeah. He threw 75 pitches like 2 weeks ago. So, and he was a starter at AAA. So I don't think you're going to see any crazy limitations, like 80 pitches.
No, his limitation is the fact that he sucks
That's the problem.
and he's facing the Rangers.
Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, really, now you start to see why Manaea is as popular as he is at $7,200. That's the problem because, like, if Crochet's getting 21%, knowing that there's a possibility he throws fewer than 60 pitches, and then Verlander's not exactly in a great spot either. That's the thing about Verlander is you're not getting Verlander in just a dominant spot where like, all right, fine, let's get to a lot of him as the second highest priced pitcher. Active rosters now, Boston. Where do you think they rank WRC plus against righties?
7th.
First.
Ooh.
Yeah. First.
Yeah, I mean, Verlander is about to see a sea of lefties today.
I know. First in ISO as well, 209 ISO, 354 weighted on base average, 22.8% K rate.
Dude.
So
first 4 guys based on Steamer projected ISO. Lefty, 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 lefty. Duran, Abreu, Casas, Devers. 185 ISO, 186 ISO, 227, 277. That's not going to be a fun stretch.
No. And Devers ISO versus righties this year. You know, I was doing baseball videos earlier in the season for betting purposes and was talking about how he has been in he's been in the exact same category all year versus righties as Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. Like he's in that same tier as them against righties this year. And that's not an exaggeration. 357 ISO, 442 weighted on base average, just crushing righties, absolutely tormenting them. So yeah, I mean, all things equal, every team's healthy. Is Boston number 1 against righties? Probably not, but they are a top 5 team against righties for sure. And right now they're number 1. It's a bad spot for Verlander.
It is. I don't have a lot of Boston and I don't like that.
See, that's where I wanted to talk. That's where I wanted to go to next. Like, what do we do with Boston? Because Verlander's pulling 18.6%, which isn't a ton, but Boston also is in a spot where they're getting what, 12%? That's middle of the road on this slate. Middle of the pack.
Yeah. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like it's either the White Sox or everybody else is kind of close to each other. Um,
Yeah, White Sox are really far down. They
yeah,
should be.
like they're the only thing that's like very clearly not the same as everybody else.
I agree. Terrible pitching matchup, but also awful park. There's
Yeah,
really I'm
it's all bad.
all right. I'm not sure there's a single silver lining in that matchup today. It's brutal.
And then so while I'm half the field on Boston, that sounds like a pretty stark amount, but I have 18% Duran, 12% Abreu, 10% Casas, 12% Devers. I have those first four guys. I just don't have anybody else. So I'm not super broken up about that. At least I'm getting like the real heartbeat of what I would want.
Yeah, Jordan, go to the Sims run and let me see what we have as far as stacks go.
Arcathelza makes a good point. Sean V has not been around lately, and you know what? It has been awesome.
I miss him.
No, you didn't even notice. He is so unmissable.
I miss him. I was wondering where he was.
I've never wondered once.
Uh, wow, a lot of San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm not there.
Not a lot of Boston. Can you go, Jordan? Can you go to click out of exposures? Click out of exposures, or sorry, stack exposure. Sorry, my fault. And go to search and type in Devers. Who are the other guys you were mentioning? I'm wondering if it's similar to what you're talking about. Like
1, 2,
15%.
3, 4. Duran, Abreu, Casas, Devers.
All right, go to Duran. Type. No, you don't need to add anything. Just I want to.
Do you know how to search for him? F A. You can get it from there.
Set that up. All right, so 19% Duran. Abreu. Abreu. Only 6%. And then go to Casas as well. CASAS, Jordan. 7%. So it looks like mostly Duran and Devers. Go to Yoshida real quick, Jordan.
Yeah, he's the one that I didn't get, which is kind of frustrating. It's just you get Duran and Abreu, and they're just simply better plays at outfield.
Yeah.
Than Yoshida is because he's at the like, he loses, like 0.8 of a plate appearance compared to those guys. It's hard to make that up.
It is 8%. All right, let's do one more thing, Jordan, and then Josh, I have a couple questions for you. Go to
okay. Keep going.
Go to lineups. And then go to exposure caps. Right? And then go to stack exposure. Go to San Francisco and just drop them to like 15. Not drop them 15, drop them all the way to 15. I just want to see what else shows up for us. This will auto resort all of these too as well. So go back to exposure and then stack exposure. So John, I just dropped down San Francisco a lot just to see what happens. And
okay.
So then Texas and Pittsburgh actually become the next two highest. And mind you, that's Texas against Domingo Germán, which, I don't think you're going to complain a ton about. What do you make?
Seems like a good spot to go.
What do you make of Pittsburgh against Andrew Heaney, though?
I'm over the field.
Over, you said?
Yeah. I have 15% right now. I'm 2xing Kiner Falefa. I've got north of 20 on Brian Reynolds and Connor Joe. Relatively neutral on everybody else. Oddly light on O'Neill Cruz, so I hope he does not homer. But yeah, I mean, look, I still have 60% Heaney. So
Yeah,
like
sure.
it's basically just in the non-Heaney lineups, I probably have a decent chunk of Pittsburgh today.
and he will give up some power.
Yeah. Park plays it up too, particularly against righties. So,
Yep.
you look at Brian Reynolds in this spot, Connor Joe in this spot, De La Cruz in this spot. All looks good.
Realistically, though, 6,200 on Heaney in this matchup, kind of unavoidable.
Yeah, I think that's why he's in 62% of my lineups.
This is similar to what you and I were talking about with Joe Boyle the other day at that price point, where you go, all right, like what are the elements of the matchup that we care about, and what usually makes a pitcher expensive? Strikeout upside, right? Number one. Also,
Yeah.
just be good, but strikeout upside, matchup. So, what's the implied total of the opponent? Obviously, this Park isn't great, but another factor playing into this, strikeout rate for the opposing team. Well, 23% K rate for Heaney is pretty good. That's not bad. You're not going to complain about that. 3.9 run implied total for Pittsburgh. Pretty good. Again, this guy's $6,200, $6,300. And then against lefties, 25% K rate for these Pittsburgh bats, which is the 5th highest in the league. So all in all, outside of the Park, you're going to be hard pressed to find anything wrong with this spot for Heaney at that salary.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Like, everything looks great for him other than the fact that it's a 4-game slate, and the opposite side of it is also appealing because of how much ownership he's getting.
Right.
It's kind of a weird situation.
You know what I had for breakfast tonight?
I got a couple answers that I'm not allowed to use. So eggs and bacon.
No, meatloaf with asparagus and roasted potatoes. What?
I don't think I don't think you're being serious, but
I'm
maybe
dead
you are.
serious, dude. Yeah, dead serious.
Fresh or leftovers?
But hold on a second. Leftover meatloaf is fantastic. I would have put it on. I would have put like cold meatloaf on bread, but I didn't have any potato rolls. So I just went and I had dinner at 9 o'clock in the morning after a workout.
I mean, I think the problem in that one is the asparagus.
There is something about eating asparagus in the morning for sure.
Unless it's in a frittata, I don't think you're supposed to do it.
Over the years, though, I've become far more, welcoming when it comes to the smell. But
I don't need to hear about how you want to get peed on, dude.
no, I don't want to. I just soak up the aroma on the can. No, it's meatloaf, asparagus, and potatoes. It's actually delicious and filled me up. Gave me good energy. Had a
I feel like you got to go work in the mine now.
I eat some wild stuff. I had to get rid of it. I had a 3
that sounds delicious. I don't like you're not. I would do
just
the
not
same
for
thing.
Breakfast.
No, I can't. If I ate that in the morning, it would change everything about my day.
Well, it wasn't as heavy as you think because I'm not eating bread or anything, and you're getting vegetables. I mean, it's heavy. Like you're putting breadcrumbs in the meatloaf and all that stuff. Can we at least agree on one thing?
Probably not.
Is probably the most disrespected food in existence.
It's very high up there in disrespect.
Okay, thank you.
It's so much better. People remember eating a 1992 meatloaf that their mom cooked. And unfortunately, your mom sucked at cooking.
Making meatloaf. Yep. I make a good meatloaf and I would eat it also, I think it's in the name, meatloaf. It just doesn't, it's not an appealing name. If you named it something different, I think everyone would have an entirely different perception of meatloaf.
My mom made one when I was a kid. My friend Jut was over, and she cut into that at the table, and it was fully rare. And she was just like, but the outside was not. She was such an awful cook.
I thought you were gonna say it was like from Christmas Vacation where it just went.
No, it might as well have moved. No, it was. It still had a heartbeat, but the outside was charred. I don't know how she cooked it.
Oh, I will not do like diner meatloaf though. I want to make it my own. I want to know what I'm doing.
I agree. I don't usually want to eat anybody else's meatloaf. I will say this: Costco makes a great meatloaf.
Costco does a lot of things really well.
You can buy the pre-made meatloaf with a full thing of mashed potatoes. It's fantastic. You throw that shit in the oven for like
Oh,
40
those are
minutes
the
and it's done.
best. Those are the
It's
best.
so
Yeah.
good. Because then I know I'm getting sandwiches later. I do like the way that they made the meatloaf, and I'm a big time sucker for mashed potatoes, so I get to house those. Oh,
Yeah, me too, dude. And I take the mashed potatoes, take a scoop, jab the meatloaf, and I'm mixing it all.
oh yeah, absolutely.
You have to
My
mix it all.
problem is when I make mashed potatoes, they are about as unhealthy of a product of food that you
Yeah,
can put into your
I
body.
go butter and sour cream.
Butter, cream, probably a little bit of bacon fat, if I'm
Oh
being
yeah,
honest. Like,
you're going past me.
yeah, it's I spend I'll add a little like reduced chicken stock as well. I mean, I'll spend like 2 hours on prep for potatoes for Thanksgiving.
I'll spend not that much, but a decent amount, not 2 hours. That's a long
I will
time.
make concentrated chicken stock to put into my potatoes days before Thanksgiving.
You want people to enjoy it because they are a staple. They're like the prize of the menu come Thanksgiving. No one
I'm
really
go
gives.
I go
Let
out and buy chicken feet so I can get more gelatin in my stock. I'm a weirdo, man.
this may be an unpopular opinion, but people give the least amount of shits about the turkey. Has to be good stuffing, has to be good. Now, I'm not saying the turkey can be terrible, right? Like too
Yeah.
dry, but the sides are of monumental importance when you're talking Thanksgiving, right? They have to be.
I crushed our turkey this year. I was so happy with it. I can't wait to run it back again.
And by the way, for those of you with Costco memberships, Motor City Pizza, Detroit style, not a big frozen pizza guy, but that'll just knock your cock right off, dude. It's
Yeah.
delicious. It's very good. Anyway, let's
Now,
talk
now I just
stacks
want
here.
Thanksgiving.
What?
Now I just want Thanksgiving food.
Oh, it's so good. What are we doing with these stacks outside of, like, we talked Boston? It seems from your Sims run, from our Sims run over at the Stochastic Tools, looking at the top stacks tool and everything, that individual spots and maybe like 2-man, 3-man Boston, it seems like more individually makes more sense than going with the 5-man Boston stacks here. And I get that. Like, Houston does have a good bullpen. Verlander's not a bad pitcher. So that all makes sense to me. Where else are we going with volume? And I know you
I
already
mean,
talked about,
for me, it's Baltimore.
that's okay.
And
Okay.
for the record, I love it too.
Talk through it.
I mean, Mania is prone to give up some power to righties. 172x ISO over the past 2 years, 162 this year. So, you're sitting in that 165, 170 range. We're looking at a situation where righty power plays up in this park. 111 park factor to righties, 90 to lefties. So you'll get Austin Slater, you'll get Rutschman from the right side, Santander from the right side, Mountcastle, Eloy. There's a lot of power potential here. It's not as if Mania gets blown up super frequently. Like, he's obviously a solid pitcher, but if he's going to be pulling 37% ownership today, I think the Orioles are getting disrespected. I have massive amounts of these dudes. And the two dudes that I don't have are Colton Cowser, 4,900. So way more expensive than Eloy, a little bit cheaper than Santander, but a couple spots down in the lineup. And then Jackson Holiday. Now, would I like to have those two guys? Sure. But I have very limited amounts of those two lefties at the bottom because of how limited their plate appearances are. All these righties plus Gunnar Henderson, sign me up, man.
Yeah, I'm not opposed at all. It really, there's, from a matchup perspective, San Francisco has Crochet. You could make the argument that that's a decent stack just because they're not getting a ton of ownership, right? Like, they're technically the second lowest owned stack, but as you pointed out, there's a bunch of teams that are all just kind of grouped together there, but it's a bad park. Crochet's good. If Crochet goes 4, that means, all right, well, if you don't get to him, you get the bullpen, which is nice, but
Yeah.
you're likely going to be leading this game. You don't get the 9th inning either. So that's kind of where I'm going with this, right? I'm not saying that's how it's going to play out, but if it does, then you're hoping for 4 innings that 4 innings that aren't against an ace.
I like it.
It's fine. But I'm going through all of these and thinking like none of them stand out in a
No,
crazy way.
no, I feel like I'm like short on words for this, but like outside of my huge stance on the Orioles, which I think is largely just driven by Heaney's ownership, I'm right around the field on everybody else except for the Red Sox. Like neutral on the Rangers, neutral on the Pirates, neutral on the Mets, neutral on the Astros. I have a little tiny bit of the White Sox, but they suck anyway. I'm right around the field on the Giants. Like I'm having trouble finding a team that I actually like am interested in talking about.
Texas against Herman does kind of stand out.
They do. It certainly feels like a good spot.
It feels, Texas hasn't been great. They're what, 22nd in WRC plus versus righties,
Yeah.
which is kind of
Herman
crazy
is
when you think.
probably not your average righty.
No, I'm certainly not saying he is. 19.6% K rate, so they're going to put the ball in play.
Yeah.
There's that. The power just hasn't really been there with Texas this year. I mean,
Mm-mm.
do you believe they're 26th in ISO versus righties this season?
No, you would have lost that bet before the season.
Yeah, you would have put him at least top 15.
Yeah, for sure. Knowing some of the hitters that are there, for sure.
But at the same time, they have a decent implied total, 4.8, second highest on the slate behind Houston. And then the Mets against Cole Irvin are 4.7. This is another spot I guess we could dig into. Then we can build something out in the single lineups. And that seems to be what's really helped us, kind of tee these up recently is building those out and seeing what's practical or not. Cole Irvin, 20% K rate, 4.7 xFIP, 1.3 home runs per nine. Should the Mets be the team that we're looking at today?
I think they're a little overowned, if I'm being honest. I I have a hard time liking them because of how popular they are. And it's not that they're like overly popular, it's just sort of like everybody's getting it.
Yeah, Mets, Houston, and Texas, really.
I mean, 15% top stack odds, at least coming out of my top stack sim. I like it. And I have them, but I'm very concentrated on Lindor and Vientos, and to a lesser extent, JD Martinez. I don't have Nimmo. I don't have Torrens. I have one share of Marte. I'd like to have a little bit more Pete Alonso, but 5K first baseman, whatever.
Given the makeup of this slate, do you think it makes some sense to not maybe do less 5-man stacks for a 4-gamer?
Sure. I don't really pay any attention to it.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should. It's just none of these spots stand out as incredible. Even Houston, like sure, it's a pretty decent spot, but it's not perfect.
No.
Also, Criswell is actually, if there's one thing we can say about him, he has not given up much power at
Mm-mm.
all. You look at home, 5 home runs, 2 home runs on the road this season. He's allowing 0.84 home runs per nine with a 8.6 home run per fly ball rate. Those a 50% ground ball rate as well. I mean, he's a 50% career ground ball pitcher who doesn't give up a ton of hard contact either. So, as underwhelming as he's been, it's kind of with him in the bad starts, it's been the like death by a thousand paper cuts, right? When you look at that, it hasn't been that he's giving up a ton of power. Given up 1 home run since June 15th.
Hmm.
Granted, he wasn't pitching deep into these games recently, but the guy just has not allowed a lot of power. Gets a lot of ground balls.
I only have a really big stand on Jordan Alvarez, so I don't hate that.
I'm
And
not saying to play.
he's 30% owned today, so
Yeah, I'm also not saying to play Criswell. What I'm saying is, again, differentiating.
No,
all of
I
these.
mean, I was looking at it the opposite way. Like the fact that he doesn't get bombed, I'm happy that I don't have like an overwhelming amount of the
Got you.
Astros.
Yeah.
Other than Alvarez, who I don't give a shit if you give up power or not. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Look at this. Lefties have he's thrown 682 pitches to lefties, 673 to righties. So pretty even, decent sample. 118 expected ISO versus lefties, 163 expected ISO to righties, 117 actual ISO to lefties, 181 to righties. Yeah, 291 x WOBA to lefties, 325 to righties. So yeah, like the WOBA there on the righties isn't great, but the X ISO rate, those are like, this is a guy that if you're just looking at the numbers and you're looking at these metrics, you're going, well, he's not even expected to give up much power.
Hey, Riggs 25. Who said that?
So
Curious. Said on a previous show, not by yourselves, it was said for DraftKings to get a good simulated ROI, you have to have a 5-man stack. On such a small slate, is that still true? I don't think that that's true ever. So I'm curious.
Well, maybe
the context of how that got said.
Maybe someone did say it, or that's how he interpreted it. So explain to him why you don't think so.
Because that's like.
Without being condescending, some people don't know this stuff.
No. I'm not trying to be condescending. It's just not. It's not true. In that, like, the only way to get a good ROI is to have a 5-man stack. It could be better for sure, but it is not your only path. Like, you can build good ROI lineups as a 4-3-1, as a 4-4. Absolutely. It does, like, yes, you're getting a little bit more correlation, and that can be better. But I would not be looking at that thinking the only way that I can get a good sim ROI is I have to have a 5-man stack. That's not the right way to think about that.
Do you think there is some type of like delineation though when you're talking a 4-game slate and maybe a 13-game slate yesterday?
Oh yeah, of course. The smaller the slate that you're.
I think that's what we're getting at. By the way,
it comes in. No, I don't. I don't think we are actually. So it's an interesting balance because on a day like today, if you have a 5-man stack and they're the only team that scored double-digit runs, then it's way better to have a 5-man stack. If you're on a 4-game slate and everybody scores 6, then that 5-man is probably not going to be the path that you wanted to take. But yeah, there's definitely a difference for slate size. There's got to be some context to whatever got said, or maybe something getting lost in translation, but do not think that it has to be 5 or you're not getting the right ROI. That's not a thing.
Yep. Jordan, go to our lineups for a second on the sim. By the way, links to all of the tools in the description and in the chat. Jordan can throw them in there as well. If you want to check these out, still got another good month. Oh, and also NFL, we're about to release everything for NFL. And I'm telling you now, we're going to have a very nice deal on that. So stick around. But if you want to check these tools out, even if you're not ready to sign up, you want to check them out, link down there in the description and in the chat. We got you covered on a week, on a month, a bunch of different subscription levels too. Like you don't feel obligated to be like, oh, I have to do this one. If you're a lower stakes player, you like playing single or 3 max or even like 20 max, you don't need the highest, thing with be able to run 5,000-10,000 in the contest generator. So if you ever have questions, hit us up and we can help you out. But zoom in, Jordan, on stack type for me. Can we zoom in on this a little bit? That'd be great.
But by the way, Ram33 said, Greg said 5-man stacks generally have higher ROIs than like the post thing sim. That was the extent of it. So yeah, that could very well be super true, that in general, when you're looking at our post contest sim, 5-man stacks are skewing higher. That's a different conversation than whether or not you need to worry about that pre-lock.
Right. Well, the two aren't mutually exclusive in the sense that like, it doesn't mean you can't get good ROI results on, but that's cool. Yeah, look at them today, Josh. Like 4-3, 4-3. These are the highest simmed ROI lineups. 3-2-2, 4-2-2, 3-2-2, 3-2, 5-3. Hey, you know what? No wonder we weren't seeing a ton of like Boston 5 or 4-mans. There's probably a ton of Boston 2-mans in there as well.
I'm running my final run now. We got the White Sox lineup. The only thing that was different is Vargas out, Sosa in. I don't think anybody gives a shit. So if you're worried about the 7-hole hitter on the White Sox today, you'll figure out how to swap that.
Yeah. And we have the late swap tool as well.
Let's see. Vargas is 2,700. Sosa is 2,400. So even if you built your lineups already, you can just swap Vargas directly to Sosa and nothing changes.
All right, so it doesn't make a big difference at all. Let's build a lineup here before we get out of here. We still got
Let's do it.
430 hanging with us. Appreciate you guys. We're late into the season. It's midweek, but all your support goes a long way. Appreciate you. Also, we're 16 likes away from 100, so that'd be nice to get there. Just a subtle reminder. Tap that
Always
thumbs up.
good.
Show us some love. All right. Where do you want to start?
You know where I want to start.
Baltimore?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Baltimore then.
It's the best one. So that's where I land.
No problems with that whatsoever.
Alrighty.
Baltimore, one of the only few positively leveraged teams in the top stack tool as well. We have
Convenient.
them basically tied for second highest top stack odds. We have them, here's the interesting part. 5th in ownership and top 3 in leverage. Where are they in stack score? We have them 4th. Okay, so we have a middle of the road. This should be fun. Let's try it.
All right, let me just kick this last sim off. All right, Baltimore. Honestly, I think it's pretty easy to get this one started. Rutschman. I'm on the main. Whoops. All right, Rutschman in. Santander in. Mountcastle in. Honestly, I like Eloy. I mean, you're trying to buy a cheap home run. That's the whole point of this. And then I'm up for it being a 4-man or adding a 5th guy if you want to. If you want it to be Gunner, I'm cool with it. You want it to be Ramon or Rios, I'm cool with it. You want it to be Austin Slater, I'm fine with it.
I want to try 4 here.
Okay. Works for me.
So Rutschman, Mountcastle, Santander, and Eloy.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. Not terribly overpriced because you have a cheap Mountcastle, you have a cheap Eloy. Rutschman and Santander are expensive, but not crazy. Jordan, by the way, before you run this, go to large contest and go to 25% the first. I say this because in these early slates, you're not really getting, many great single entry contests.
Yeah.
So let's just assume we're running this in a large field. I want to
try.
So
we're getting positive leverage from the Orioles. Who do you want to go to with them?
You mean for pitching?
Yeah. Do you want to lock in pitching now?
Yeah. And then I want to try to get like a 2 or 3 man Boston as well. See if it's doable.
Heaney Webb here.
Yeah. I think that's
really our only option if that's what we want to do.
It's really the only option because you're not going to Manaea.
No.
Clearly. I don't like Crochet. I don't love Verlander, and I want to get some Houston or I want to get some Boston bats in there anyway.
Yeah.
Gives us 4,400 per player remaining.
It's not bad. I wonder if we could. Okay, we can only take one of Duran or Abreu.
I'm plugging Devers in to see if this is feasible. We
go Devers.
I think
I'll take Abreu then, since he's way cheaper.
Yeah, Duran would be pretty much. We'd be boxing ourselves out of everything if we went with Duran there. So let's go Abreu.
We're dead in the water now for these final 2 idiots. I don't want David Hamilton or Rafael at all.
No. Let's not even worry about. Let's just try a 4-2-2 or something. Let's try a 4-2-2.
Okay, I mean, we can game. Can we get to the opposite side of this? Can we get? No, Joe. Who's the second baseman? 20. This might be close. Jeremy Pena at short, and then Dubon. Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. What about Texas? Does Texas work here?
Maybe. I put in those 2 idiots and left 400 on the table. I'm just going to run it to see.
You know what would have been nice is if we didn't have Heaney and we could run like Kiner Falefa and then someone else for Pittsburgh. That would have been a really nice looking team.
It would have been much more helpful.
How insane do you think it would be to run 2 against your pitcher on a 4-gamer?
It's more than I like to do. I don't think it's
Yeah.
totally crazy, but I generally avoid it. I cap it at 1. Locks 110, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct.
Okay. Just making sure I don't have to rush here. I have infinite time. All right, what did I get when I ran mine? 17. And that was with Pena and Dubon, and I'm quite confident we can do better than that.
17 is not terrible.
Yeah, especially for a 4-gamer. ROIs are going to be a lot lower on a day like today. There's only so many places you can squeeze value out before everybody's already there.
I went with Jackson Holiday and Rafaela,
uh,
and that was 7%.
ooh, beat you.
You did. I wasn't
Too good at this.
anticipating it being great, to be honest with you.
Well, that's how I felt when I clicked it. I thought it was going to be negative for sure. I felt pretty good just building it on the fly.
What what about a couple? Nah, see, that doesn't even. Well, no, this might actually work. Hold on.
Keep me posted.
There's no one. I tried to get Tyler Fitzgerald in there, and I have
Okay.
2,300 at second base.
There isn't one.
There's not one. No.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I can't exactly downgrade Heaney.
Well, I mean, if you want to free up $200 for Cooper Criswell, you can make yourself want to lose.
Can't do it. Okay, that becomes a little bit more difficult then. What if I? What if? All right, hold on. I have a plan.
I'm going to start taking a look at my lineups once I get my stuff in, and then I can look a little bit closer at building one of these out. But I got to lock this stuff down first.
Is this
It's
doable?
frustrating.
Okay.
You figure it out?
Nah, probably not.
Nah.
Unlikely.
Fair enough.
I went with a 3-3-2 Baltimore Boston or 3-3-2 Baltimore San Francisco Boston. Got me to 30%. That's not bad for a 4-gamer.
No, 30 beats me. I'm gonna run you down though.
I mean, Fitzgerald projects really well for us today.
I mean, dude's been raking.
Absolutely dominating.
It's kind of wild. I feel like every time I look, his name is on a pop-up on my phone that he homered.
Yeah, he's expensive and it's not a great park, but still, it's also I don't mind it.
God. I ended up with even more Baltimore now.
How much?
32%.
Okay.
I have 35 to 45 of Rutschman, Henderson, Santander, Mountcastle, and Eloy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's going to be fun-ish. All right. So we were talking Baltimore. I want to try and improve the lineup that I had tried to do before. So if I look at a Baltimore 4-man, huzzah. Let's see what we can get built. Man, you really got to get weird if you want to do Baltimore 4-mans, man.
Okay. And Matthew said take Devers out, add Henderson, Hamilton, and Whitcomb for Houston.
All right, Webb, Heaney.
You could, but at that point, I don't even know if I'm trying to get to Boston because, Brayu's in there. That's nice, but Durant's super expensive. So you wouldn't really be getting a cheaper replacement. You could go to Casas at first, but
I have a really good one that I'm about to build that my guess is it scores very well just based on what I'm seeing. It might be too chalky. That might be my only problem, but there's a couple outliers that might make it look a little bit better.
okay. Jordan, what did the one you run for Bill come up as? Oh, that's solid.
32 works. Yeah, oh, -9. Yeah, I thought it was going to end up being a little bit too chalky.
All right. Here we go. Pittsburgh. I'm going Pittsburgh here.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. But I can't say I'm confident.
I mean, it's Pittsburgh, so it's going to be hard to be confident.
For sure. I also just don't hate this spot. Given the ownership. And granted, I like Heaney. I mean, it's a very good spot for Heaney.
Yeah.
But still.
Good lineups today on website, please, for a change. Sure. That almost made some sense.
All right, so chat's building out some good ones right now. What is it? It's
You know who isn't? Josh.
a four Baltimore, two-man Pittsburgh with one-offs with what is that, Mountcastle and Bregman one-offs. It's hard for me to read that, but oh yeah, Mountcastle. Right. With 5-2-1, yeah. Okay.
This is
Very
gonna
nice.
be dog shit when I click it. It's hard to build out a 5-man Orioles stack.
Very difficult.
I find so many of their bats incredibly unappealing. I am trying everything to do it, and every time I do it, it looks like shit.
These slates can get tough, man. They really can. Because you're so limited to where you're going, especially once you get to some of these cheaper options. God, this is tough.
Ew.
Can
Ew.
I get, nope.
Can
I'm
I do
boxed
that?
out there as well.
No. Good God. This
Not
is
easy.
It's so gross.
It is. Yeah, I keep running into the exact same issue with every lineup I build. All right. Well, at least chat's got it dialed in right now.
I don't. I can't find anything good. It's shockingly problematic.
I just made one -4. It was Pittsburgh, Boston. Not great, Bob. Anyway, we got a few minutes.
I've got a 5-3. I'm gonna run this last one. 5-3 Baltimore, Texas, Heaney Webb.
See where it lands.
29.3.
Feels like we're all landing in that 30% range.
I think it's basically the ceiling-ish. Without like forcing yourself into what you know is the best.
That's
This
what I was
seems
gonna
like the
say.
landing
Like,
spot.
yeah. All right. Hey, appreciate you guys. Live before lock tonight. Are you doing Odd Shopper live right after this?
It's already
did you do
over.
it
I already
already?
did it. I did it
Right,
at 11.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got my flight's at like 3:45.
my preseason video. We've been having a fantastic time. Had a great week in preseason last week. That'll be up tonight. Check it out on the Odd Shopper channel. Again, all the tools in the description and in chat. Appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll see you back here tomorrow. I assume early before we go. Let me just check.
Yeah, there's a ton of early games. We're going to be 12-1 tomorrow.
There are?
Yep. I already checked. Ooh, I got the 37%. Boom.
Okay. Yeah, 5 early games tomorrow. And then 5 late games. Yep. So we will see you guys at 12 o'clock again. Same place, same time. Have a good one, guys.
Odd Shopper live at 11.
Peace.